This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about why you can't stop Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about what it means to be anti-fragile, which is based on this famous book by Nasim Taleb called Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder. And in spite of the fact that Taleb has become an enemy of Bitcoin and has become a bit of a jerk on Twitter the past few years, I think his few books, the 4 or 5 books that he wrote from Fooled by Randomness all the way through Antifragile, these are definitely worth reading. And so I'm going to be drawing this concept of the antifragile from it. And this is the distinction that Taleb makes. If something's fragile, it's obviously easy to break it, and you don't want a system to be fragile. If a system is robust, that means it's difficult to break, but it can still break. So this is definitely an improvement. But if something is anti-fragile, it's really in a completely different category. If a system, if a person, if an organism is anti-fragile, it gets stronger when you try to break it. And the more you try to break it, the stronger it gets. And this is what I'm going to argue in this video that makes Bitcoin unstoppable. Anti-fragile, the classic mythological example, which I think Taleb cites in his book, is the Hydra, which was this mythological monster in Greek mythology where you cut off one head and 2 new heads grow in its place. So by just trying to attack it and destroy it, you actually make it stronger and create more heads. Likewise, Bitcoin is incredibly anti-fragile. Classic example, China bans Bitcoin mining in the summer of 2021. Bitcoin miners move their machines all over the world, and thus Bitcoin mining is no longer concentrated in China, and it's just become more decentralized and unstoppable. And Bitcoin mining actually remained in China. Even the CCP wasn't able to stop it. Just a year later, in May of 2022, we have this article that shows how Bitcoin mining has come back and is still being used in China. We can see that the hash rate since the China ban in the summer of 2021, we can see here where it really went off a cliff from, call it May to July, but has since massively recovered. So perhaps the most powerful totalitarian government in the world tried to stop Bitcoin mining and was unable to stop it. Instead, really strengthened it and sent these ASICs all around the world. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to hit the subscribe button. That really helps this channel's reach. Like this video if you're enjoying it so far. Leave a comment, a question, or a suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend as well. The other thing, another example of something that imposes pressure on the Bitcoin network and then makes the Bitcoin network ultimately stronger is transaction fees. And over various periods, we've had spikes in transaction fees. The most recent one we can see over here, the two ordinal spikes and inscription spikes. And they've been fairly minor compared to the spikes in 2017 and 2018, as well as the spikes in 2021. But what high transaction fees on the base layer do is they encourage innovation at higher layers, which is of course how money always scales. And so one of the results of the 2018-2017 fee spike was the development and the rolling out of the Lightning Network, and which has just been growing ever since then. And it's ironic because most recently the Bitcoin fee spike has actually caused a number of exchanges, including Binance and Coinbase, to implement or say that they're going to implement Lightning soon. So this is one way that fee pressure in the network drives innovation. And the way innovation should take place, it should take place at higher layers. Doesn't mean you need to change the base protocol. If you increase the block size, you basically are stealing from the miners, and you're not allowing a robust transaction fee market to develop, which is going to be necessary to sustain Bitcoin once the block subsidy, the 6.25 Bitcoin, gets halved every 4 years and eventually trends toward zero. So here's another example of something within the network, high fee pressure, creating more and more innovation, encouraging people to innovate. Chain analysis is another example. This is the name actually of a company that's headquartered in New York City that does blockchain analysis. But this whole industry of chain surveillance has awakened a lot of people and led to the development of privacy methods and privacy strategies on Bitcoin, including CoinJoin, which I do talk about on my website in my paid course, and I don't talk about it here for obvious reasons. But this is another example where the industry says we're going to surveil the blockchain, we're going to try to erode your privacy, and how does Bitcoin respond? Developers come up with CoinJoin and other innovations like this. Another example is what happened with Wallet of Satoshi over the weekend. Wallet of Satoshi voluntarily unwinding their services in the US, probably because of regulatory pressure. They don't want to end up going to jail like CZ of Binance may go to jail. And so what they're doing is they're no longer serving US customers. They're voluntarily pulling their app out of the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. And as a result, Americans are not going to have access to this custodial wallet, which is a good thing because it's going to push people into non-custodial, in other words, self-custodial solutions like the Phoenix wallet, for example. So if you currently have a Wallet of Satoshi app installed on your phone, you should withdraw your funds, move them either on chain or move them into the Phoenix wallet, which is a great product that is non-custodial, or the Mutiny wallet, which we've talked about before, where you actually are running a self-custodial Lightning wallet. You're running a Lightning node in your browser. So these are both cool products. And so what happens here, you attack a centralized custodial service. What do? You drive people to self-custodial services instead. And this makes the entire network much stronger and more resistant to regulatory attacks and to censorship. So Bitcoin is incredibly anti-fragile. And when people are deciding whether to invest their savings in Bitcoin, they always forget that where they are, the default system that they're trapped in, the fiat system, is incredibly fragile. So the real question is, where are you going to go when you get out of the fiat financial system? If you stay there, you're going to get poorer and poorer, and you're going to be more and more subject to account seizures and freezes and censorship. So fiat is incredibly fragile. We've had the bank bailouts over the past, call it 15 years. We've had quantitative easing and money printing. We've had the bank term funding program to bail out the banks in March of this year of 2023. And then next year, to try to help with some of the off-the-run treasuries that have become illiquid, we're going to have treasury buybacks, which are really, I think, another form of supporting the treasury market, which is buckling under the weight of so much new issuance. So this is the fiat system. And this is, if you're worried about Bitcoin being fragile, you have no idea how fragile the fiat system is. In other words, you can basically take any example of Bitcoin FUD, which is short for fear, uncertainty, or doubt. The question is, will Bitcoin survive an EMP attack or a solar flare or World War III or a quantum attack? The answer is, when it comes to Bitcoin, no, it's not going to destroy Bitcoin, but it could quite possibly destroy or reset the fiat financial system. And after world wars, we've often had the reset of the system, as we did with Bretton Woods. Here's basically a summary of what I do on this channel. People ask me, will XYZ kill Bitcoin? And the answer is always no, not because I'm blind to the risks, but because Bitcoin is such an anti-fragile system. You can ask yourself, will Bitcoin still be around and flourishing in 500 years from now? And I think the answer is definitely yes, if we haven't managed to somehow blow up the entire planet into a new asteroid belt. But assuming that the Earth is still around, Bitcoin will still be around and flourishing. And the question is there any other thing that you could say the same thing about with any degree of confidence? US dollar, probably not going to be around in 500 years from now. US banks, global banks, definitely not. Apple, Google, Facebook, unlikely that they're going to be around in 500 years from now. If you think about the companies that were around 500 years ago, the world looks very, very different today. So those things are not going to be around. I would say cockroaches are quite probably going to be around. So what we can say is in 500 years from now, the only things we can really say with confidence will still be around are cockroaches and the Bitcoin network. And this is because when the Bitcoin network is attacked, because it's anti-fragile, it gets stronger. It's hardened by hostility. And Bitcoiners are the cyber hornets. You can't stop us because of Bitcoin, because we have this amazing tool and we have each other. We have robust, anti-fragile Bitcoiners who have the stronger form of money that we can use in our lives to continue to get stronger and stronger. So you can't stop Bitcoiners. No one can stop Bitcoin or Bitcoiners. The only option really is to join Bitcoiners or just keep losing. And a great example of that was SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. He said that Bitcoin had no future as a payments network. And he was right in a sense. For himself, Bitcoin had no future as a payments network because he was headed to jail. And now that he's in jail, SBF is using what's called the mackerel network to pay for haircuts in prison. This is where he said Bitcoin has no future as a payments network. And now he is using the mackerel network where he's paying for haircuts and other things by trading dead fish with other inmates. I think this is a fitting end to a guy like that. Perhaps the most poetic statement of Bitcoin's anti-fragility comes from Michael Saylor. He has this pinned tweet: Bitcoin is a swarm of cyber hornets serving the goddess of wisdom, feeding on the fire of truth, exponentially growing ever smarter, faster, and stronger behind a wall of encrypted energy. This is a great metaphor for an anti-fragile system, a swarm of cyber hornets, because you cannot stop a swarm of hornets. There's no center, there's no leader to kill, and every day the swarm grows faster, smarter, more nimble, and stronger. And this is definitely what the Bitcoin network is, what it has shown itself to be over its 14, 15-year history, and what it will continue to do as it grows stronger and stronger, as it encounters attacks and hostility. So if you're thinking about attacking the Bitcoin network, you might want to think twice, because what you're really going to do, what you're going to end up doing, is strengthening both Bitcoiners and the Bitcoin network as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.